Hey, how's it going, YouTube? JTwoH back here for another ranking video. Today, as I promised in yesterday's video, which if you haven't watched, I highly recommend you watch. It's my April Media Haul video. Today we are doing another ranking video. When I posted the Marvel Cinematic Universe video, someone had commented you should rank the DC films, which I will, and these films. These are the Fox X-Men Universe films. And I gotta say, I kind of forget about these films because of two reasons. A, they're under X in my shelf, so they're the very last thing, with the exception of the two Zombieland films, on the shelf, because I keep everything under their categories because I'm weird. So all of these are in chronological order under X. But anyway, and also because these are kind of bastardized when you talk about Marvel films. Usually everybody talks about the MCU films, to a lesser extent the Sony films, and then to an even lesser extent these X-Men films. So I just tend to forget about them, although I've seen these, several times, just like the MCU films. And some of them, the top film, I might argue, is up there with the top films of the MCU, and me and Crazy Joe have talked about that several times, Crazy Joe and I. So, without any further ado, I'm going to rank the 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 14 of these. You'll see what I mean. So first up is actually a 2-pack, and it's actually my least two least favorite. But first up, my least favorite of the X-Men films is X-Men The Wolverine. It's just called The Wolverine. It's not called X-Men The Wolverine. But that's the one on this side, where he is in Japan, and it's the Silver Samurai. And I just felt, it's not that the movie's bad. I actually watched this in theaters before I was a Marvel fan because the trailer looked so good. And I was very confused by the Jean Grey stuff. Now, of course, I get it, but I just remember it being the second time, and I just watched these last June while I was waiting for my son to be born, and right before Dark Phoenix came out. And I just remember it being kind of boring. The action scenes are intense, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of long. It's kind of boring compared to the other ones, and it's just solely focused on one comic book character, unlike a lot of these. So it's not my favorite. It's not bad. It's still, like I said, these are exceptional films. Still, it's not awful by any means. And then my second least favorite is X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is the blue side. This is, his face here is Origins and the Wolverine. Now, I've actually only seen this twice because I didn't watch it in my first when it first came out. But this is the one where it introduces the shitty version of Deadpool. But there's some cool introductions. The Blob, I didn't like how he was done in this. I like how Gambit was done in this, though. And then there was talk of a Gambit film starring Channing Tatum, and I don't think that'll ever happen. But just two okay films, two films that aren't available on 4K for whatever reason. So I have this Blu-ray 2-pack, and I love this 2-pack, by the way. Like, it's excellent. It takes up one shelf. Cool cover art, which you can see, and then separate discs. But this isn't a packaging review. So those are the bottom two, two of the 3 Soul Wolverine films. He has his own damn trilogy. Next up is going to be hard to separate, because they are all in the same box set. It is the X-Men The Last Stand. This is the 3-pack I have on 4K. X-Men The Last Stand just felt kind of, not sloppy per se, but it seems like there was a lot of stuff and that was just kind of crammed in. It wasn't overly long, which maybe was part of the reason, but I know it's widely regarded as not the best X-Men movie, but it tried to do the Dark Phoenix saga. Whether it did it better than Dark Phoenix, I don't know. These kind of apples and oranges, but I still like it for what it is. And then the next film in the same trilogy, X1, the original X-Men. Now, I like it for what it is. It was one of the original comic book movies, and introduces you to all of them, Rogue and Wolverine and Professor X and everybody in this new universe. But it's kind of a child of the time. I think it's a 99 film, so the effects aren't great. And kind of corny and cheesy, but still, holds up compared to X3. Um, the ding or cut? The ding. And then going further, which is now the fourth, so my fourth lowest, being the X2, which this is where I start to be like, okay, these are really good. I liked X2 quite a bit. This is the Wolverine Stryker stuff, I believe. It's hard to tell because they're not individual in here. The only thing I have is the disc. The Wolverine stuff with Stryker, and the death of Jean Grey, if I recall correctly. Yeah. I enjoy it. I don't think that's the one that... yeah, I don't think... Angel is in the third one. Nightcrawler's in the third one. But still, the original trilogy all right in a row, which is kind of weird and kind of nice, so I don't have to pick this up 8 times. Then we get to the final film, and one that wasn't originally under the X-Men line, X-Men Dark Phoenix, which gets a lot of hate, and I went into it knowing it was getting a lot of hate, and oh, this is going to be awful, and I just didn't think it was awful. I liked it. I love Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. Obviously, I can't get enough of these two. You know, Magneto and Professor X. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. Plus, it's the last film in the X-Men franchise, unless New Mutants gets put out in whatever universe. But it was like a goodbye. So, and I honestly think this does a better job of the Dark Phoenix saga than X3. So that's why it gets higher. That's the only reason. Next up, another movie that I think gets a lot of grief, even though I didn't find it bad. X-Men Apocalypse on 4K. Now, again, being a comic fan and being a comic book reader, I don't like how they did Apocalypse. I mean, compared to the comics, he's kind of he's a watered down version. But I just didn't think this was bad. I think his name's Oscar Isaac, right? Yeah. Oscar Isaac, the guy who played Poe Dameron in the Star Wars movies. I liked him as Apocalypse. This, you could have called him something else. He wasn't really Apocalypse, but speak of the devil. But I like the Magneto stuff in this. His arc in this is crazy. You got to follow the storylines, and you love these characters. So it was nice to see that. So I didn't mind this at all. Okay, so now we're to the point where these are really good. These are the ones where I could watch, and have watched several times, especially when you start getting into the top 3 I've watched several times, just interchangeable, but really well done. I love this movie. This started off the new universe, X-Men First Class, introduced you to James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender's version of Professor X and Magneto, respectively. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique as well. All of the introduction of the new characters that you didn't yet see in the original X-Men films that you won't see in the new wave, kind of, because, there's reasons. But Kevin Bacon as the antagonist in this film is interesting. Again, this is what sold me as a Magneto fan. Like, after this, I was like, I need to know more about Magneto. Excuse me, his arc in this is amazing, and even though he does what he does at the end, you root for him the whole time, and I was secretly like, yeah, he did the right thing. So, there you go. Okay. This one is very special to a lot of people. A lot of people's favorite R-rated comic book film. And you've got Logan there. This being the 4-disc noir version with the 4K, the noir 4K, the regular, and the noir Blu-ray. But anyway, yeah, really, really good film there. Crazy, sad ending, which I'm sure everybody can guess by now, especially if you've seen the first part of Deadpool 2. But just, it's solid. It's not just solid, it's great. Call it what it is. It's a great film. I gradually fell in love with Hugh Jackman as an actor and as Wolverine. When I first jumped into the X-Men movies, I was like, man, he's in 11 of the 12 films. And I'm not a huge Hugh Jackman fan, and I'm not a huge Wolverine fan from the comics. Like, I think I have 2 way down there. One being Old Man Logan, which this is based off of. This is the reason I bought Old Man Logan, so I could see if it's going to be anything like this. The very first time I actually read the comic book before watching the film. Of course, they're not anything like each other, but it was still cool. So I eventually fell in love with Hugh Jackman as the character. So then when you watch this, it's the best kind of like sign off for a character that we've had. So Logan, for a comic book character, not any character. Don't go crazy. Next up is kind of just it's an honorable mention. Actually, yeah, we'll mention it now, but it's Once Upon a Deadpool, which doesn't count necessarily. It's just the PG-13 version of Deadpool 2, but with some. Oh, I forgot the kid's name. He's a kid. He's older than I am. Kid from Wonder Years. God damn it. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. God, this is gonna drive me nuts. Why does it not say? Um, whatever. It's still a great movie because Deadpool 2 is a great movie, but this version of it, they didn't, in my opinion, they didn't change enough of it to warrant it getting a higher rating than some of these other films. Um, I like will I probably won't ever just grab this, other than the first time I watched it. Probably just never grab this instead of Deadpool 2, especially being that it's Blu-ray, not 4K, but that's just me. But it's the PG-13 cut. I think it was released in theaters. I still got this day one. Um, so, it even says on there, A Fairy Tale of Deadpool 2. What the hell is his name? Driving me nuts. So, next up, everybody loves this film. Actually, the wife and I saw this on Valentine's Day opening day. Deadpool. Not much you can say about this one. He redeemed his character from X-Men Origins, the Wolverine. Hilarious. This is the one where I could pop on just any time, and there's still gags in this and jokes and lines that get me. That just made me laugh. Ryan Reynolds is great, and the Deadpoolness is crazy. Continuing with that, the next film I actually like, and I don't think this is a super popular opinion. I like this one better than the original. This being Deadpool 2, mostly because I'm a big Cable fan, so it's cool to see him on the big screen, and Domino as well. But I just think it's better. I always tend to like sequels better than origin films. If you've watched the channel, you know that, because it's nice to see them established going further than the origin. Origin stories could be told in 10 minutes. Usually, I don't understand why they get whole films. Looks like it's Deadpool 5. It's hilarious. That's just me recording. So, and this is the super duper cut. So I've watched 3 cuts of Deadpool 2. The regular cut, which is my favorite. Super duper cut, which is still really good. And the Once Upon a Deadpool cut. And the Once Upon a Deadpool cut, what it does is it takes scenes from... It's actually the super duper cut. So they add... If you just watched Deadpool 2 in the theaters and just got the bare bones Blu-ray or DVD, and then you buy Once Upon a Deadpool, there's going to be a lot of new stuff for you. Whereas me, having seen the super duper cut, a lot of the jokes I had seen and heard, now mind you, they're still funny, but you'd seen them before and owned them before. Another honorable mention of the last film, the final film I'm going to rank, my favorite X-Men film of all time, but I don't like this cut as much, this being the Rogue cut. So my top film is Days of Future Past, but we'll get to that. This one's just the Rogue cut. I like the stuff they did and the direction they tried to do with Rogue. I just think they did it better in the original released cut. Though I do wish this would come to 4K because I like the artwork, and it's worth a watch. If you're a big fan of Days of Future Past, this is worth watching. It's definitely, and I think I got this for like $5, sealed, like brand new. So pretty cool. And then the final film. I love this film a lot. A lot of people like this film. Days of Futures Past. This is the one that I think is up there with Endgame. Not Endgame per se. Endgame's on another level. But, the original Avengers, Age of Ultron, both like Thor movies, Guardians movies. This one's right up there. This is really good. This one, I believe, introduces you, to Quicksilver. He's right there. His scenes are excellent. Magneto stuff, again, Magneto scenes in this one are excellent. You got the old school duo from the original trilogy, mixing with the new team, and it works so well. I love this movie so much. I think this was the one I watched. I watched it one night, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a double feature, and then I watched the Road Cut. So I watched this and then the Road Cut while I was lying in bed when I was going to bed, and even back to back, it was still great. So real quick, just because there's only 12 films, we're gonna do an elevator. So top film, and it's extra cut, Deadpool 2, and then Deadpool. Once Upon a Deadpool, like I said, I love Deadpool 2. I like it better than regular Deadpool, but if I had to pick between Deadpool and Once Upon a Deadpool, realistically, Once Upon a Deadpool would be way down, way down right in here, because I'm just not going to pick it up and watch it. I'm going to watch regular Deadpool 2. Logan, First Class, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, the original trilogy, and then the Wolverine double pack. So this needs a 4K release. Once Upon a Deadpool, I'd still buy it, so you can release that on 4K. It looks like I'm flipping you off, but it's my index finger, I swear. And then Road Cut needs a 4K too. So there's all the X-Men films. That's my ranking of them. Let me know in the description what you thought. I know ranking Apocalypse over all of the original trilogy isn't going to be a popular opinion, but that's just mine. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts. Definitely rank them in the comments. You can leave out Rogue One and Once Upon a Deadpool if you want. It's just Fox trying to get more money, but oh well, it didn't work. Haha, they sold. Anyway, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you liked this, and give me your thoughts and your rankings. I'd love to talk. I love to talk about Marvel movies, comic movies. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. I think next week I got that I've already mentioned, which is the ranking of the DC films, which I own on the physical 4Ks. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.